What's going on, y'all? What's going on, y'all? Episode 11, man. Episode 11. Ladies and gentlemen, it is I, J.H. Gibbons,
And it is yours truly. We'll see.
and we want to welcome you to yet another Sunday, which means it is also another episode of the Achromous podcast. What a heavenly Sunday it is, baby. Easter Sunday.
Yes, it is.
Praise
It's a
God.
beautiful one. Very
Praise
joyous,
God. He is risen, hasn't he?
as he has.
Yes, yes. Amen. 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 Shout out to everybody out there who has been in touch with us, who has been following along, who has been watching, who has been faithful, who's always been there, giving us comments, giving us shout outs, giving us tips, whatever you've been doing, however you've been participating in this journey, in this community. We want to thank you. We're thankful
Mm-mm.
for you. And again, like I said before, man, we are not going anywhere. So again, we want to thank you for following along with us now. We're in episode 11, and we have so many more to go.
Yes, absolutely. Just second that. Truly appreciated for everyone that's reached out to us via our Achromous page, or different ways to reach us out directly. As you can see, and we've been, as you know, trying to get back to everyone as fast as we can. And
Mhm.
thank you so much for all the feedback. We really appreciate it, and this could not be moving without you all.
Mhm.
So this movement that we're on, thank you for continuing to push it forward, guys. And let's keep it going. Let's keep the energy going. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know last week we had quite the touching episode. If you did not hear it or see it, again, go to our YouTube page, check out our on IG here for a short version of that video. But the journey towards healing, of course, it is a very long journey. It's a very tough journey. There's a lot of growth that has to transpire in order for you to get further along where you truly want to be and where you believe you deserve you should be. So again, if you are struggling to take that journey, if you are still on that journey, but you're having doubts about yourself, number one, you can always reach out to us, but make sure that your circle helps you as well. It's very important to have a support system around you that can fill you with legit positivity, not just motivational words, but can help you to build and grow and become a better person. So again, if you are going toward, if you are going through that journey, make sure that you got a good circle around you that can help you, because it's something that you can't do alone, and it takes a village, man. It really does.
Yeah, that's it right there. And as Jay touched on, and a lot of what was spoken on is very true. That still stands true to today, where and it's something that's constant. Where you do rely on the support system. You're doing the work first, and you're doing it for you because you love yourself. And keep in mind that your support system love you too. And anyone that's in your circle that's going to be there for you. They're going to understand this process. They're going to be supportive as much as they can. That's not detrimental to their health and well being. And your circle will realign with people who are for you. And that's important to not force anything or anyone to be there for you guys,
Mhm.
as to be the people who are for you. And you'll know their actions will speak so much more than their words. And I say that from experience, as I mentioned throughout the week. Uh, that holds true to today. And that's what I look at, the actions of others. And this journey process for myself, I'm sure it's the same as for Jay. And
Absolutely.
we want the same for you. And for those out there who understands this process already, we are all here to support you too. Like we're all in this together. And that's the one thing we want to make sure everyone understands.
Absolutely. And the one thing that I hope everyone understands as well is that everything we say is honest, everything we say is truthful, everything we say is thorough. You could see, a lot of the questions that I ask, we'll see here. It's for the purpose of truly understanding how not only can I, help him continue to heal, but if you are out there and you're listening, maybe there's those are certain questions that you should be asking yourself as well, just so you could firmly understand what it is that you should be working on and how you can heal properly, so that when you continue to move on in life, you're not blocked by that shadow, that lingering shadow that's over your head. You have a clear spirit, you have a clear mind, your body's healthier, and you continue to grow as you move along. And I gotta say, man, like I am on day two or day three, day three. I'm on day three right now of the 21-3 method. You didn't know that because I did not mention that to you before. But again, when it comes to being honest, when it comes to being truthful, when it comes to describing something that has actually worked, and you could see the gentleman in front of you, will see it has worked on him. So I told myself, well, if this is going to be a product that we are bringing to the market that we want people to use and we know for a fact that it works, why not have everybody who is talking about it or promoting it work on it as well, so that they can show you the results that they've gotten from it? So I am on day three. I'm going to continue to document all the trials and tribulations that I'm going through, because it is rough right now. I got to tell you, here's proof, man. He knows I hate cucumbers. Hate with a passion. Anybody who knows me knows I hate them. I cannot stand them. I love
Yeah.
the water, but I
Uh-huh.
hate what's in it. I got to tell you what, it's been helping me out though. I'm feeling a lot more clear. You can hear my voice coming through. It's a little
Hmm.
bit better. And what I am noticing is that I feel a little bit more energetic, especially based on the time and based on the day that we're doing this. I definitely feel better than I would have if I did not do this. So again, day three, the 21-3 method. The 21-3 method is launching soon. We want you to keep up to date with all the messages that we're talking about this with. We want you to continue to follow us, continue to look at everything that we're putting out there. It's valuable information. And when this 21-3 method hits, man, you will understand why it has taken so long for us to build. We build it with heart, we build it with energy, we build it with detail to make sure that we understand exactly how it could help you.
Yeah, well said, Jay. It is quite the process, but it is a matter of choosing you.
Mm,
Really, just that simple, guys. Choosing you because you matter, because you're so damn worth it. So each day that you invest into yourself is a day that you're molding a better you, a stronger you,
yeah.
a more capable you to take on life adversities in all fashions. So uh, this is something that, as we're sharing with you, is something that has been done and something that is consistent even
Absolutely.
now. Something that I do has grown into being seasoned into this process for myself, but it's something I have to be conscious to choose every day,
Mm,
or I lose sight of that and lose sight of what my purposes are in this
mm,
journey to be able
yeah.
to hold true to the 21-3 method. So Jay's on that journey, and it's a beautiful thing for
Woo!
everyone who hadn't had the opportunity to watch me through that process. See, I didn't just get to where I'm at overnight. It
That's
really didn't
absolutely right.
happen that way. I have a lot of content that shows my journey through this process of transformation to the man that I am now. A lot of it is documented on my IG page, my personal page. So you're welcome to go there as well. And we have good portions of that documented as well on our Achromous page. So it's out there for those
Yep.
who want to kind of go back and take a look and see kind of what that looks like when you
Mm,
willing to do the work and put yourself out there for you, not for anyone else, but for you, so you hold yourself accountable, because that's what I did, and just held true to that method and other things that were put into place. My
mm,
support system was there to keep me uplifted,
yep.
and here we are. So
Mm,
Jay's up at bat, and I got him. I got you, brother. You know it, and
absolutely.
we're gonna show you
Hey,
guys how much this works.
yeah.
I'm gonna
We
show
got
you.
goals to achieve, man. We got goals to achieve. We got a
Absolutely.
community to build.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a movement to keep pushing. So I know that if I'm going to talk the talk, I'm also going to walk the walk. And I think that is vital for any sort of organization to stay true, any sort of movement to keep pushing along.
Mm-hmm.
You must be telling the truth. You
Yep.
must be telling the truth at all times. But I must ask this question, man. I know we're talking about the truth, and I know this week is the perspective of truth, which is something that I've thought about so much because, like, there are certain times where it's tough to say that somebody is not telling the truth if their story doesn't match somebody else's that was in the same situation.
Mm,
To you, I want to pose this question out to you and our audience as well.
mm,
What do you define as a lie? Before you answer that question,
mm,
the Webster's definition of a lie is just deliberate, um, you know, deliberately misleading someone or being deliberately misleading in general. So I want to put the emphasis on deliberate because I think it's the intention behind the lie that you're telling versus whatever you're saying in general. So I mean, what is your take on what a lie is?
ooh. So, I would say honestly, the description of what the definition truly means to its core is that,
Mm,
there's no getting around it. It's definite for sure. Now, if we assess it based on conception, that's where it's
mm,
different
mm,
because I think it really depends on the complexity of what the issue that lies before us,
mm,
which ultimately dictates what we tell to be a variation of something that's maybe not the complete truth. For
mm,
example, let's say, uh, as a lot of people know, like a white lie, right? Like something
mm,
that's, something subtle, nothing that's too harmful, something that just, it's just something you brush over.
mm,
Those are something that you probably find to be more constant out there than, something that is a legitimate big thing.
mm,
Um, I think in certain instances, given a variation of a truth, as I like to say, as opposed to just saying lying, may be a good thing,
mm,
depending on the severity of the action ensued as
mm.
to why you're not providing that information.
So you're saying that it is under the right circumstance, it's okay to be deceitful?
I would not say necessarily deceitful.
Okay.
I live along the lines. Actually, there was an instance earlier where I was interjected into an issue that was occurring with
Mm,
a couple of people I know, and one person in particular. Without going into the details, they were intentionally not providing a full truth of this
mm,
situation
mhm,
with the hopes of protecting this other person,
mm,
their emotional
mm,
stability, of if they knew what the truth entirely was about what this other person knew,
mm,
it would be detrimental to them in different ways
mm,
and not of the best kind. Like it wouldn't really be helpful. So in having this conversation with this person, I understood before when it was brought to my attention because I was interjected into it, like, hey, Will, such and such. And I was
mm,
like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
mm,
All right, let me talk to this person and see how I may be able to alleviate the situation.
mm,
When this person provided me the details, that's when my mind adjusted on the outcome of this. And I'm like, oh
mm,
wow, I understand why you haven't said what you needed to say to
mm,
this person and
mm,
to other people. So on the outskirt of it, anyone else that's involved in know of it that don't know the details of this particular issue,
mm,
they're gonna see it as, oh, you're not minding your business in a way that let this person do what they want to do.
mm,
But this person has been not as forthcoming with providing all of the details to this person because they're trying to
mm.
spare them
So
because they care.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but so what happens if that person then hears quote unquote the whole truth from another source? Is that other person who has been telling only a partial truth now looked at as being deceitful by the person who is trying to hear what that person is saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, is that, does that now fall on the person who was only being half truth versus, only being half true, versus the other person who was like, I'm gonna give it all to you. Look, I don't care about feelings, I don't care about where this goes from here, I have nothing to lose, I'm gonna
Mhm.
give it to you all. Does who in that situation would be the one that you would consider is telling the truth? I mean, I guess you can say that one person is telling the whole truth, another person is telling the half truth, but the person that's telling the half truth is also deliberately not giving the full details, which could be harmful or helpful to the other person to know.
Mhm.
I guess in the interim, of course, you have to think about emotional states. You have to think about living situations. If this completely crushes a relationship, or
Mhm.
how somebody is living, I everybody can understand that.
Right.
But I think it gets a little bit tough when somebody who is saying these things is now faced by somebody else on a completely different side, who does not is not looking to not looking to spare the feelings of that particular person. Is that person who is telling the half truth now in a worse position than he was before, or better?
Um, I would have to ask a question on top of that question,
Mm,
because I think in order to truly kind of answer that, you'd have to look at it from the perspective of the person receiving the truth or
mm,
receiving a variation of the truth.
okay.
How capable are they to embrace what they know
Okay.
and how they perceive it and how well they take information?
Mm.
Because all of that is factored in. You
So
have to think of it that way.
taking in that information, that's a good point. Taking in that information could, depending, I guess you would say, depending on that person's past, depending on
Mm-hmm.
how this person may take bad news, if it is bad news about something, I could understand why you would not want to put that out there and say, this person said this, that, or the other, because you you've seen how this person reacted in the past to a similar scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that that's in that person's past, and maybe they've got this firecracker attitude or an impulse to act irrationally, you would not want to come out and say exactly what you want to say. But if that person hears it from somebody else other than you, let's say you're in a position of being the trusted man, right? The one
Okay.
who says everything, the one who's always honest, always truthful. Man, Will, see, I can come to you for everything. I want you to give it to me straight, even
Mm-hmm.
though I may not be able to take it because I'm a loose cannon. Is it now up to you to be like, all right, I gotta, how am I gonna phrase this to J.H. Gibbons so that he doesn't fly off the handle and do something bad?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, what if I'm not around and he hears the story from somebody else, and it's a completely, I wouldn't say completely different version, but it's a much deeper version than before. Let's say now I don't fly off the handle from that other person because I'm sitting there and hearing it from a different perspective. I'm like, oh, okay, okay. Now, if I was irrational, I'll say, well, then why in the world did Will C not tell me that? If I was irrational, then I'll be upset with you, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, I expected you to tell me that. I expected you to be completely upfront, completely honest, completely transparent. But on the backside now, if I was not thinking irrationally, I would be like, I could see why Will C probably would not want me to know that, because I may not have reacted well. So I guess you do have a point when it comes to the person who's receiving this news or these words, because I can definitely see how that scenario could rock somebody's world.
Mm-hmm.
And just real quick as an aside, I remember when I was placed in a situation where I had to tell somebody some news that I knew was not going to be well received by them. um and this person was always asking me, like, tell me what they said, let me know, just tell me, don't not tell me and have this on my mind, that's not fair. And at the time, unfortunately and truthfully, I wasn't in the right emotional mindset to be able to tell that person what I knew without being, emotionally invested in what that person told me. So me delivering this news, I didn't come off as compassionate. I didn't come off as, every time I speak about an issue, I always like to understand that I have a solution in mind already. This is what this person said, but here's how we can maneuver around it so that it doesn't affect what we have going on. But instead, at the time, I just blurted out what that other person said. I blurted out how they said it, when they said it, what they said, and it was, dare I say, a bit of a wall for quite some time. And I think even now it's still having some sort of effect. So at the time when I told this person that, I didn't necessarily think that it would be taken the way it was. And that
Mm,
is my mistake for not understanding that. But at the same time, I think that it needed to be known because at some point, the person would be put in a scenario where they would have had to have known this. I would not want a person to be in a specific scenario where they feel trapped because they didn't know it. They didn't know the to the extent of how this person felt.
mm,
um so I think in the end, do I regret what I said? Not necessarily, but I do regret how I said it. I do regret how I brought it forward in an emotional in the emotional state I was in. But I do firmly believe it needed to be said. And speaking to the perspective of truth, I think when I said that, my perspective was one of hatred, so to speak. I felt disrespected for what this person said, so I kind of I pushed all that energy out, and I should not have done that. Not in that way, but I think that person deserved to know exactly what they would have gotten into at some juncture.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, and that's the part right there in the what I was just referencing a little earlier, and you just given another example of that where as we know sometimes information that we come upon us is not always easy, and we have to make tough decisions,
Yep.
especially when we're looking at it from the perspective of what a lie is and how you know people may view it. As with
Hmm.
me personally, I am the type of person where I would rather someone tell me the truth of whatever it is
Mm.
and allow me to be able to make the decision of with how I decide to deal
And
with
you're
it.
talking about the whole truth, like the
Yes.
absolute truth. Nothing
And
more
but
than
yes, and the reason for that is because of my past traumas,
that.
because I've been lied to about things that of all ends of the spectrum, things that could have cost me my life, and
Wow. Okay.
things that was damaging psychologically, emotionally. I'll be maybe sometimes possibly physical
Hmm.
because of whatever the lies were, where it didn't have to become a lie to me.
Mm.
Where in some instances I can understand what some people out here at this point may say, well, what about the respect for me as a person,
Hmm.
right? To give me that choice, don't take that from me in whatever you're deciding to do to think for me.
Hmm.
So I see that side of it as well. And then, to kind of go back to where we were, it becomes an accountability to me, an
Hmm.
accountability factor where you have this information, which is a variation of a truth, uh, because is really based on the perspective of the person receiving the information and what they view in their mind is true. Because even if you can give, like, there's been instances that I've shared with you in the past personally where close people to me, things had happened and transpired where some individuals were given truth,
Hmm.
and rather than accept that truth, they twisted it to mold what they wanted to receive, not what they needed to hear and
Hmm.
understand.
So they took your words and purposefully or deliberately misconstrued them so that
so they
was
can
it some type of
process it.
coping, okay,
Yes.
would you consider it as a coping mechanism
Yes.
in a way? Okay,
Hmm.
so it must have been news that they did not want to
They
hear.
didn't want to hear.
Okay, right.
Even if it's a thing like you say, like, hey, some people say, hey, tell me and I can handle it. And then you tell them, and then the dynamic of your relationship,
Yeah,
whatever
that
it is
yeah,
done. It
it happens
changes.
every time.
Right?
It happens
So
every time, yeah, without fail, without fail.
I guess it goes back to the trust factor in what may happen
Yep.
come from a lie.
Mhm,
So it's like there are even some instances that I've encountered with some folks that they wouldn't even know that I know that they're lying,
mhm,
but I know. I'm a big person. I read energy really well. So it's like you don't have to tell me to me for me to put two and two together. And in some instances, I will let I will ride the tide, I won't fight the waves,
mm,
and I'll let it be what it is, because sometimes revealing the truth for someone else may be more harmful for them and their
mm,
state of being than someone that's capable of handling a real truth, because
mm,
they fear losing that person. They fear the
mm,
dynamic of their relationship changing with that person. And more
right,
importantly, they feel how this person is going to look at them, especially if it's
mm,
something that's coming from them, a lie that came from them of a truth that the person on the other spectrum is aware of, because they
mm,
know, they just
right.
know.
So, and I think it just goes back to what happens when, I guess, the whole truth is revealed. Like,
Mhm.
do you then come out and say exactly what you're saying? Like, hey, I really wanted to tell you everything, but I didn't feel like you can handle it. Like, is that how do you approach that? How do you broach that conversation
Um,
without the other person being like, "Wow, I thought I could trust you, but you couldn't even tell me the whole truth."
See, it's complex. It really depends on the person's emotional stability, the emotional maturity.
Mm,
We're speaking just, I think we can only speak so much of on it without precisely having someone to discuss, to demonstrate what that is, because everyone emotion and how they process things are different.
mm,
So I think it just depends on the scenario. And if, using myself,
mm,
I'm the type of person that can be upset with someone and have a mature conversation with them through the process of analyzing what the issue at hand is, and channeling the energy to focus on that so that we can address it and move past it, if and
right.
figure out wherever we go from there with it. But
Mm,
not everyone can do that.
that's true.
Some people react through the form of physical impact of, like, whatever that is where they
Mm,
need to just become destructive, to themselves,
mm,
to whatever it is. Some people use coping mechanisms such as drinking, smoking, whatever. There's different ways people deal with receiving
right.
that sort of parts of life where
Mm,
information is provided to them, and how they process it is really
mm,
big. So it's really important that you work on your creating healthy habits,
mm,
to create a healthy mental state of being, so
mm,
that when you encounter these sort of instances, you can
mm,
deal with them. I
mm,
say that from experience,
mm.
where I would rather not go into details of things, but
Right. Sure.
for sure where I'm
Right.
getting at with this, where certain truths are revealed to you, and it's like, in some instances you would want it to come from the person who with whom is responsible, rather than you have to find out elsewhere, like we
Right.
discussed, which is true.
Right.
And then there are other instances where you're like, I just know. And it's
Mm,
like, what hurts more is like, you didn't give me the benefit of the doubt to respect me as a human being at the end of the day,
mm,
because I would have given you that in return. So it just
mm,
depends on both parties, variations of a truth, and how it's perceived
mm.
on the person to receive that variation of a truth.
Now, do you think the person who is giving that variation of the truth to the person who's receiving it, do you think that that person is deliberately holding things back because they don't want to cause pain or they don't want to cause
Mm.
some sort of disruption in whatever the situation is?
That's a very delicate statement to
Mm,
answer, because in truth, in pure truth,
mm,
it comes down to the person protecting themselves.
mm,
There's a bit of selfishness to it.
mm,
It has to be. It
Mm,
could be forthcoming to care for someone, yes, but at the
mm,
same time, it is slightly a bit of selfishness because you're looking to protect yourself depending on what the if it's like if you're in a relationship
mm,
with someone or you're dating or you're talking to someone and maybe you're talking to some other folks too, right?
mm,
Maybe
yep,
something hasn't been established, but you both interact with each other enough that you're in a
mm,
situationship and you know it to be that, but you're committed to this person and you don't really want to let them know the truth because
right.
you're emotionally connected with one another.
Mm,
So what happens is you give off a variation of what may be true as to, maybe this isn't for me, this isn't for us for now, or whatever that is, and you move on in a
mm,
way that you keep things cool, but
mm,
in truth, you were doing your thing.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? You're doing your thing and you have this person here and you don't want to give them that truth to let them go
mm,
because you want to still keep it tied for you,
right.
if
Mm.
that makes sense. So it's
Okay.
like,
So if let's say, all right, let's say, somebody just started dating
mhm.
somebody else. Do you feel as though it is necessary to disclose that you are dating several people? Or do
I,
you
mm,
or
I'm
if
sorry,
if
please.
that no, no, no worries. If that question is not brought up, do you feel as though they are intentionally withholding that information from you? Do you
This is
think
getting
do you
good. I
think
like
it's like
this. I
I
like
know
this.
this is I love
This
this
is good.
perspective of truth because there's so many different scenarios that
Uh-huh.
I know a lot of you guys have been in. Like I know
Yes.
that for a fact.
Yes.
So, do you believe that it is necessary to disclose that information? And if you do not disclose that information and the other person finds out, are they then are they is there a good reason for them to be upset about the fact that you are speaking or talking or dating other people at
Mhm.
the same
I would say this much. I'm big personally on transparency.
time?
So here's the thing. Sometimes there's some things that don't need to be said. You don't have to say certain things to get a good read on it. But then I think also depending on how you converse with someone and what's being discussed,
Mm,
where if a person's telling you, "Hey, I kind of am looking to settle down. I'm kind of looking for commitment. I'm kind of looking for that part of my life I'm ready for." And if this other person isn't saying, "Yes, me too,"
mm,
and they're telling you something else,
mm,
you are getting what you asked for to know,
mm,
hmm, where do I move with this person? Are we
mm,
aligned with what I want? Or is this something
mm,
that we're just gonna see where it's gonna go, maybe connect
mm,
eventually? See,
mhm,
that becomes a point of taking accountability because that's an example of someone not having to say that directly to you for you to know because you've already discussed where you are now,
mm,
and then it becomes a conversation of, okay, well, where do we go from here is what should happen,
mm,
but it
okay,
doesn't always happen that way.
mm,
Now, at the same time, another variation of that can be discussing up front what you want per se. Like,
So is this before the physical date? Like, is this
mm,
how
well,
long
this is
before after? Go ahead.
mm, well, I think these are things that I would say would probably come up the more comfortable you become with someone.
Okay.
Some people are forthcoming. Some people are so bold that they just
Yeah.
say, "Look, check
Like,
this
yo,
out.
I'm
This is
X.
what I'm on, XYZ. And
Yep.
if you can't give me that,
Yep.
bye." So that's how it is. Like there's
Yeah.
some
No, you're
men
right.
and women out here who are just like that
Mhm.
because they are fixated to get exactly what they want.
Mhm.
Kudos to you if that's you.
Yeah.
I do kind of think, with the time and era we live in and just in pure honesty, uh, compatibility is everything. And the
Mhm.
reality of it is you're not going to get everything you want,
Yep.
but,
That's true.
because needs change.
Yep.
But I think in all, like in those sort of instances, time to develop. You
Mm.
get a feel for someone before you get to the conversation. I hate this kind of say it like a particular time frame, but I
Mm.
have to imagine most people kind of have an idea of where they are. Maybe if they've
Mhm.
been on a few dates with someone,
Mhm.
kind of gauge where it's going to get a feel for it, or maybe if they've been interacting with each other for a few months enough where they're like, okay, I kind of get a vibe with this. I like where it's at. Do I like the
Right.
energy to stay where we are in this realm, or do we move
Mhm.
it left, or do we move it right? Like, what do I? It comes down to an individual of like, what do I want, and then
Mm,
let me talk to this person and see where they fall in line, and
mm,
say comfortably, hey, I really enjoy my time with you.
mm-hmm,
I think you're a great person. I think we mesh really well, but right now I am more along the lines of still, I don't know, learning myself or
mm,
learning more about what I like. And while I do find things in you that I enjoy, I just want to be transparent where I'm still at that point of trying to discover what that is for
mm,
me. But I
mm,
do enjoy your company.
mm,
I think I wouldn't receive that as BS. I would really look at it from the perspective of like, okay, wow, this woman, she's giving me this information.
right.
Cool.
Mm,
Let me assess that and let me think of how I feel
mm-hmm,
about where I am and from what she's told me where she is and what that means.
mm,
And at that point, emotional maturity should be on display where you can ask those questions to communicate with each other to figure out. It's not like a, okay, we got to make a decision right now. What's up? It's more of a, oh,
right,
this is
right,
where we
right.
fall at. This is where we are together. So
Mm,
now, all right, I feel you. I get you. I'm along the same lines too. So yeah, now we
mm,
kind of have an understanding, and we
mm,
can touch base on this as we go along
mm,
more. So in those instances, I would read it, and everyone's different.
mm,
Uh, that it isn't. It's been established where you both are intrigued with one another, but you're
right.
not committed to each other.
Mm,
There hasn't been a true form of commitment besides enjoying each other's company,
right.
right? Of getting to know each other.
Mm-hmm,
So sometimes people mislead or misconstrued those sort of instances of the example I
mm-hmm,
provided because of what their wants and needs are,
mm,
um, and trying to impose that on another.
mm. So you think somewhere along the way, that initial verbal contract that you guys had, the
Mhm,
terms change on their end, but they don't bring that out and say it. Is it something that they're trying to suppress inside, but it's sort of coming out subconsciously? Like, do
mhm,
you feel as though maybe they're like, God, I know we talked about this. God, but you're such a great person. We're
uh-huh,
vibing, things are feeling amazing. I just, but I know we talked about it, but I don't want to revisit it because I feel the connection and I feel like we're building, but I don't know because we just met and I wanna broach that conversation, but
mhm.
I don't know if we're ready for it, but I think we kind of are because we're vibing. Like, what happens then? Like, do we then revisit that same conversation and say, "Hey, I'm kind of feeling this now. Are you feeling the same?" Or
I
do you just
mhm,
kind of be
mhm,
like, do you hold it back, right? Because your perspective is like, man, I know we talked about this. I know where things are. And maybe you weren't being that upfront about how you felt about me. And you're showing me all these different signs. And maybe I'm feeling this, right? We're both feeling this.
mhm,
Maybe we just have to talk about it again to make sure that we were here, but now we're up here. We're on a
mhm,
we're on a different level. Or maybe I'm just seeing things differently. What
mhm.
what is your take on that?
Um, I kind of think that you gauge it
Mhm.
based on, for me, I'm really big on energy. Look, I tell you this much instinctually. I am 95% on the money when I
Yeah.
follow my instinct and follow energy. Energy don't lie.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm really a good read, and I probably shouldn't be telling people out here this, but I'm really a good read with energy.
Give away the tricks of the trade.
I, I mean, I just, as an individual, that's just me. I'm really good with energy, and I'll stop there before I say other things. Uh, thank you, Jay. But in truth, I really think that you just gauge it. You gauge the person, you gauge the energy of what's being provided to you through their actions, what
Mm,
they tell you. Now, what can be misleading, what makes this complicated is when there's no transparency. And what happens is most people's instincts are usually right,
mm,
where you haven't necessarily it's pretty much per se said what the dynamic of what you are.
mm,
So you're
okay.
still under the impression of what you were at one point,
Mhm,
and as you're growing, what happens is, again, this is why it's important to be transparent with one another.
Mm,
One person may sway, interest may go elsewhere, while the other person is still thinking everything is
mm,
moving copacetic, right? And what happens is when there's ripples, that
mm,
person is thinking this way that everything is still good. They start noticing those wavelengths trickling. And
mm,
then they're like, wait a minute, what the hell's going on? I mean, am I reading this wrong? And then this is where those lies come in.
mm.
And this is where it's like, you know,
Yeah.
that's where those white lies come in because that person is protecting themselves. And they're like,
Mhm.
you know what? We good. There's nothing to worry about. It's totally fine. Like, we're good, right? Yeah, yeah, we're good.
Mhm,
But in the back of their mind, they're conflicted from their own emotions because they have things going on within them. Because a lot of the times that goes back to the person, the individual. It has nothing to do with the person riding the wave.
mhm.
That ain't them because they're consistent of where they are, what they want.
Right, 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 right.
Because in most instances, hopefully they're delivering their truth
Mhm,
of what they're looking for.
mhm,
It's up for the other person to be able to give that back. But then in those instances, that doesn't always happen. So then you have this weird um, miscommunication that's not necessary. And then that's when things just kind of get out of whack.
mhm.
And then that's when the deceptions come in. That's when the lies come in. And then variations of truth is what you receive later.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I'm doing this for you.
yeah.
I'm doing this for you.
But
Like,
there always seems to be some type of climax or some type of end that you get to where, things one thing leads to another, things get a little bit hotter and heavier, and then it seems like there's like a cut there
yeah.
where, the next day or the next week, the vibe has completely changed. Because
Hmm.
on one end, it seems like that one person who was under the impression that we're just chilling, we're just getting to know each other, nothing is big, they still have that in their mind. In their head, they're like, yeah, same thing, same thing. But this other person that's collecting all that energy, all those vibes that you're giving off is like, well, wait a minute. X happened, Y happened, Z happened. How are you still here? But I'm like way up here now. I'm on top of the moon. I'm on top of the world about our situation.
Yeah.
And obviously the feelings are strong, things are going well. Like this person is now like, is there something that I'm missing from you? Because I thought we were going here. I
Hmm.
thought this was gonna happen. But then you're sitting here like, well, wait a minute. We had an agreement. Like, why are you thinking that this was gonna happen after we discussed many times that that's not where we were going? So, do you think it's up to this person here when they start getting the vibe that things may be getting out of control to tell this person the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Or do you feel it's that person's obligation to do so if what was already established is still it's literally still the foundation, it's the same thing?
Um, I would say both parties has to be held accountable for that.
Mm,
Because again, we got to look at each individual's perspective, how
mm,
they see it. You got to look at it from the person who's on this end, who's up here.
mm,
How well have you been communicating with that other person? Are
right.
you under the interpretation that this is what it is because you thought that? Um, or has this person provided you reasoning to think that way, albeit
Mhm,
their actions. Number
mhm.
one, usually is their actions.
Right, typically.
Yeah, typically, or their words. Have they actually said that to you to
Mm,
make you give you reasoning to say you're up here like bringing in the word like I love you or bringing in something
mm,
of that draws a more emotional tide,
mm,
because when you have that happen and someone's feeding you that and then maybe that's just taken away, you're like, yo, wait,
mm,
wait, why are you changing? Like, what
mm,
happened? What did I? Then you start thinking you did something, when in
mhm,
reality it's not you, it's the other person who
mm,
their alternatives adjust for them. And I'm
mm,
not saying that's a good or bad thing. It's just it adjusts for them.
right.
And that's not always communicated across because a lot of the times they don't know how to communicate that across,
Mhm,
where their needs and their wants change, regardless of whatever it is. So I think it really depends on the person's perspective and accountability for both to deliver that information. Because if someone needs and wants start to change, you people, you should be willing to give that person what they need. Let them go, let them move on for them. I'm not here to judge anyone. No, neither is Jay. But in truth, it never is a good thing to do that, because the reality of it is this is why we have vicious cycles out here like that, where it's hard for people to open up and communicate with others
Mhm.
and grow with others because
Mhm.
of experiences.
Yeah.
So in these instances, we can kind of help to alleviate some real truth to people, some real
Mhm.
growth, and allow people to be better for them by just doing what is morally right. You know what I'm saying? If it's not going to do anything, it's going to harm physically to someone. Like,
Right.
what is the harm in speaking your truth? Because you may not know exactly how you feel when you're going on, but communicate it with that person.
Mhm.
Because it was all good when in the beginning phase, like everything, but communicate. It goes back to communication,
Absolutely.
because maybe that part of your life may not be what it is, but this could be
Mhm.
someone who could be a really good friend of you,
Yep.
someone that really cares about you, that someone that's really loyal to you as a person.
Mhm.
So more often than not, people ruin what God may have for them
Mhm.
for things that they want, that are temporary.
Mhm.
And it's just something I think that people kind of need to think on, in a way where, like, if you are that person that's doing these things, talk to the person. Don't lead them on, and don't let them think it's one way. Be
Mhm.
transparent. Now it's a difference when you're transparent, and if this person is insistent on, like, yo, I want it this way. I
Mhm.
want At
Mhm.
that point, you did your part.
Mhm.
That's on them to figure it out, like, to regress. And
Yeah.
you decide at your own discretion of how much you're going to interact with that person until they understand, and it becomes healthy,
Yep.
in a way of, like what I was taught by someone, where you have to either slow detox a person,
Mm.
you wing them off, or either you have to just make them go cold turkey. I don't mean ghost them, but, like, make them go cold turkey, because then they'll understand. Like, oh damn, I get it.
Now, I must say, it does. You must know that other person, because if that
Mhm.
other person, I might, this might come out wrong here, but if that other person is unstable, if that other person cannot take bad news, you cutting them off immediately will set their world on fire, and they will come
Mhm.
after you with a vengeance that's just beyond crazy. But
Mhm.
I think it is very important to always, as you said, keep communication open, keep
Yeah.
that line open, so that they don't get to that point of building something up so strongly in their mind that something's going to be a certain way, and then it turns out that one day it isn't, and all of a sudden you're blocked, they can't reach you. It's like they just completely cut off for you from the world. It's like that sort of thing can set anybody off, honestly.
Yeah,
um
it is. That is
so,
true. I see that
just
point.
again, just continue to communicate, be open with communication. Take it from me, be sure to communicate when your emotions are not invested into it. Sit down, have a discussion about what is happening. Make sure that you're both on the same level in terms of the vibe, so that
Mhm.
you're really understanding and listening to what that person is telling you, or what, or you're delivering that particular set of news to the person who you want to understand. That, I think, once there is communication on one end and somebody's listening into you on the other, you would be able to avoid these type of scenarios. But I think both people have to be on the same page, and I think it's important to really sit down and focus on the situation at hand.
I agree. Um, and honestly, I think it really just kind of come down to some of those things. This is one of those topics where you can just kind of there's so many perspectives on there.
Yeah.
So I think, Jay, I think at this point, I think it'd be a good chance for us to kind of wind it down and just kind of let's rely on our Achromous fam to keep this conversation going, keep it
Yeah.
alive.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Like Will C said, man, and we can have these conversations forever. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, you have a life, as do we. And again, we thank you for being part of our lives, and we thank you
Yes.
for taking the time out to listening to us on a very busy Sunday. I know many of you are spending time with your family, you're spending many time in church, or whatever you're doing. We want to thank you for spending that time with us as well.
Hmm.
And at this point, for everybody out there, I want to ask you this. Was there a time when your perspective of the truth was viewed as a lie to somebody else?
Hmm.
Now, it's not that you were lying, but your perspective of the truth, whatever that may be, regardless of the situation, came off as a lie to somebody else. And if so, how did that person react when things change? Either they found out another part of the truth from somebody else, or you ended up telling them more at a later date and they're like, wait a minute, you didn't say that last time. What ended up happening? So again, I'll ask you guys again. When was there a time in your life where your perspective of the truth could have been seen, viewed by somebody else as a lie? And what happened in that scenario? What happened in that situation? Again, you weren't lying, but there may have been some things that you didn't think were detrimental to the story, but somebody else found out, and now they're either upset or they're disappointed, they're not talking to you. There's maybe there's a lack of trust now. What happened? I mean, we'll be very interested in hearing about this. I know we have
Yeah,
personal stories as well. So a topic like this will definitely be revisited in the future, because i
absolutely.
think i think there are so many different scenarios, and this was such a great conversation to have. And you guys out there, again, we thank you for joining us, and I hope
Yeah.
you enjoyed it as well.
Yes, absolutely. It's a pleasure as always, guys. I think we touched base on quite a bit with this one, and we kind of went a little out of it, but all tied it in to
Mhm.
the importance of truth. That's
Yep.
really what it comes down to: the importance
Yeah.
and the perspective of a truth. That's really
Mhm.
what it is.
Yeah. I mean, and look, hey, speaking of the perspective of the truth, I gotta say, like, there was a time where I was invited to this event, right? It was an event. I want to say it was out in Rockville somewhere. One of my really close friends asked me to join him. And this was before I knew anything about whatever this was, right? And as I continue this story, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But I was invited to learn more about an opportunity.
Hmm.
This was an opportunity that I could not miss. This is an opportunity for me
Uh,
to possibly make six figures at some point. And me, I'm just a broke college kid. I mean, I was like 22, 23. I'm like, man, you're telling me I could pay off these loans before I even have to build all of them up? That's fantastic for me. This is music to my ears. I wanted money. You want money. We'll see wants money. We all want money. Of course, we want
um,
money. We want success. We want everything that comes with it. So I was game, man. I went to this meeting. I saw great. I mean, hey, the people there were beautiful. They were well dressed, well groomed. Everybody was smelling good. I was feeling good. I was hyped. I was motivated. It was early in the morning too. Had a cup of coffee, some OJ. Went inside the room, sat down, and we took in this presentation. And I mean, look, this guy, he was well traveled. He was very well spoken, very encouraging. Guy must have been a pastor in his past life, because he was on point, man. I was eating that message alive, right? So then I'm like, okay, this
mm,
sounds really good. This sounds like something I can hop on board. I'm hearing all these different success stories from the audience, from random people. Some guy used to be a postman, now he's retired at the age of 35, living on a beach somewhere. Okay. And then some other lady who was cleaning houses for a living for the past 20 years decided she was going to join this, and now
mm,
she's retired, and what I'm saying, just sipping pina colada every morning. I'm like, what? Who doesn't want this life, bro? So then
yeah.
at the end of this presentation, I was asked to make a one-time investment of $500. Now, see, when I heard this, I didn't quite understand, because I'm like, well, this seems to be an opportunity. You guys are saying that you can be an independent business owner or an entrepreneur. You're setting your own hours. You're doing all this, but I have to invest in a package for $500. So I told my friend, I'm like, hey, let's sleep on this. if it's something for me, I will come back and we'll be part of it all and we'll collect all the money and we'll be famous and money, blah, 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 all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went home and thank God for Google. I did a little bit of research and I found this thing called multi-level marketing. And at first I didn't hear about it. I didn't know what it was, right? I didn't know about it and everything I'm seeing, oh, pyramid scheme and scam and oh, you have to create a downline or you gotta, a lot of the money, a lot of the revenue that's generated or profit that you get in your pocket does not come from selling products. It comes from being able to recruit people that you have under your bottom line so they can make money. And while they make money, you get money. So I'm like, well, boy, that doesn't sound like something I want to be a part of. But I would say this, and I would leave you with this. I do not believe that those particular companies, and I can't name them for legal reasons, obviously, but I don't believe that those companies are scams. I don't believe that they're necessarily pyramid schemes. And next Sunday, I will tell you exactly why I don't believe it. Now, this might be controversial to a lot of you because I know a lot of you people get DMs from all these different accounts for people to sign up here and do this, do that. I mean, we recently got one, right? You
Yeah.
already know we were part of that. And
Yeah.
I just had to pass up on the opportunity only because I didn't believe it fit what we were trying to do. But
Mm-hmm.
I do not believe that they are scams. I do not believe that they're pyramid schemes. I want you to tune in next Sunday to find out why. Believe me, JH Gibbons is not going crazy. There's a reason why I don't believe that is true, but there is something that they're not telling you. There's an ingredient that you're probably missing
Mm-hmm.
as to be the reason why you have probably failed doing it. But you got to wait till next week to find out what that is.
Mm.
Yeah,
I want to
buddy.
know myself, honestly.
Yeah,
So
hey, look, I do
I
I
want
firmly
to
believe
see.
they are not all scams. And
Mm.
I challenge the audience after next week to let me know if you got caught up in one. I know there are a ton of stories out there. I know a ton of our followers have been in one. But
I got a
again,
few.
oh, I know.
Yeah.
Again, next week though, I will tell you why I do not believe they are scams. I'll tell you why I don't believe they are pyramid schemes, and I will tell you the secret to those who are succeeding in them. You do
Oh
not
man,
want to miss this.
we got some salt
Ooh,
going on, man. We're gonna drop
ooh,
that there. Ah,
yes,
that was good, man.
yes.
Until then, Jay, can you tell everyone how they can reach us?
Oh my God, my
If
brother.
this is their
It's
first
on
time
the
coming
hat.
across us.
If you can kind of see it, I know the lights. There it is. What does that say, y'all? Achromous. Achromous. We are the only name out there. Type us in on
Only
Google.
one.
We are the very first result. Number one, numero
Number
uno.
one.
It's the same on YouTube. It's the same on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Same on IG. Follow us. Share this. Be part of the community. You don't want to miss it. You don't want to hop on so late that you miss so many gems that we're putting out there.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing but honest content, nothing but inspirational content, motivational content, content to help you enhance your productivity and build healthy habits along the way.
Exactly.
Let's go.
Exactly. Well said. So I think on that note, Jay,
Hey,
we gotta let the folks go. We gotta let you guys go. I know you don't want us to, but we gotta let you go. Gotta get
we love
back. Gotta get back.
We
Get
love
back
you.
to your Easter.
We love you. Yes.
Yeah.
Get back to your Easter. Get back to your Easter. Get back to it. Praise God. Right. So
Yeah.
until next Sunday, I am J.H. Gibbons.
And I will see.
Peace.
Peace.